It's about breaking free to understand that you have the freedom to do whatever you want in this life. Money, women, booze, if that's your thing, it comes from a scarcity mentality though, and a lack of perspective.
If you're not willing to sacrifice your lifestyle for a year to get what you want, you don't really want that thing all that bad.
There's nothing you can invest in that's more important than investing in yourself first.
Welcome to this edition of the Balanced CEO podcast. I'm really excited today. I have one of my mentors, someone I've looked up to for a long time, who has guided me over the past few years through much of the changes you've witnessed if you've been following along. We got Jeff Smith with us, the real Jeff Smith.
Hey Chris, how are you, man? I'm excited to be here today. This is going to be awesome.
I'm good, man. I'm excited to have you. I'm glad we could do this. We are here for something special, the Tactical Empire Mastermind, the Inner Circle. Can you tell me a little bit more about what spawned that? How did that come about, and why is it so important to you? I know it's a really emphatic thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, when I started the group, it's almost 3 years old now. It'll be 3 years in November. And it was really just about wanting men to pursue kind of freedom, step out of like conventional norms of the way that things are done and the obligations to work in a cubicle for 40 years or even in small businesses. As you know, we have been mentoring small business owners for a long time. And I saw a lot of the same tendencies with regards to scarcity versus abundance and things like that. And it was really just from mindset issues and also lack of financial education. And so ultimately what I wanted to teach was like, I wanted to bring in all the things that I love, like being better husband, better father, but also making a lot of money at the same time and being able to reinvest your profits from your business to ensure that you had more time and space to make decisions based on what you wanted to do. Freedom of time, freedom of location, freedom to do and work on what you wanted to with who you wanted to. And I spent 18 years in financial services. I've done a plethora of investments. And so I felt I had a lot to bring to that space. As you know, I've taught a lot of business owners financial education and investment aptitude, if you will. And so I just think it's a really important thing. Most of us are strapped trying to get by day to day, and even the business owners I saw creating profitability, I didn't like the level of complacency that I saw because they generated a nice income for themselves, but ultimately no one was really working with intention. And I don't say no one; that's a broad sweeping comment, but like. People weren't thinking, do I want to be doing this in 5 years? Do I want to be doing this in 10 years? Like, what's the exit strategy or how do I evolve from this point? And ultimately what we're all about in the Tactical Empire is just moving with intentionality, getting clear on your vision and what you want out of life, and then giving yourself the space and freedom to choose what you want to do with your time and how you have to make your money. All of that. So we're just heavily focused on cash flow and cash flow assets and where you invest your profits. And if you're a W-2 person, where you invest your extra income, just to create that freedom over time. Because it doesn't take the length of time that people think that it takes if you invest it properly into things that pay you on a regular basis. I posted in the group the other day that cash flow's more important than net worth. And I stand by that times 100 because cash flow is actually what gives you choice today in your 40s, in your 30s, with your kids, with your family, with your elderly parents. And time is what we can't get back. And so if you can use these vehicles to produce 10K a month, 20K a month, something like that, you start being able to see the runway for like decision-making process where it's not like you trading your time for money. And I think even good small business owners don't forecast that they may not want to be doing what they're doing in 5 or 10 years, 3 years. Like seasons of life change. If you're a great salesman, you may want to sell till the day that you die, but it's way nicer to do that when you have the choice to take those leads and take those sales calls when you want to, and you've got a team of people behind you doing it like clockwork. And then you can hop in where you want to and work where you want to in your zone of genius or things that bring you joy.
I agree. And I think on the sales part, as a sales guy myself, I think sometimes complacency comes from selling the same thing for too long. And you need to be able to switch industries or switch what you're selling to for a new challenge. And I think that's important too for people to realize is sometimes as entrepreneurs, it's not complacency comes from doing the same thing for too long. You've kind of conquered it. Mm-hmm. There's not much more of a mountain to climb. So you need to go find a new mountain. You need to go find a new industry or a new company or a new something to start. So you get that fear at launch period again, right? Like we need that, almost that fear of failure again. And, you know, as entrepreneurs, it's really easy to get complacent when things get successful.
You can run into the same thing with the clients that you work with, right?
Right.
Like you can serve a certain audience or a certain avatar for a few years, and then maybe your skill set or your aptitude has outgrown that avatar. And then for us, it's about creating opportunities. So like that opens up an opportunity for somebody else to come serve that audience. But like in the business space, like if you've created recurring revenue at such a level that, and you've created no backup plan, like if you need that recurring revenue to eat, then you're going to go work with that avatar, whether it makes you miserable or not. And that's a recipe for disaster for business owners, because then you self-sabotage, you do a variety of things that are not beneficial to anyone around. What you really need to do is have planned your safety net or planned your next step. And so if you're serving 100 of those clients that you've been serving for 10 years, but you want to move on, then you open up an opportunity where you can bring in staff to serve those people at a high level, and they're working with their exact avatar at the time, and you move on with 10 people or whatever. And essentially the growth period is not painful because you've set in all these financial foundational benchmarks that produce cash flow anyway.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I talk about it a lot in my own posts and things when I've been on a handful of calls with people in the last couple of weeks about investing, and I go back to that failure to launch, right? Yeah. You get to this point where you have all this money and you work so hard to get it, and for a lot of people, they didn't have it before this. They've never seen that kind of money in their life, so they're afraid to lose it. So there's this failure to launch to, you know, I think you said it's allocated appropriately. Mm-hmm. And disperse it into different things that can work for you. They'd rather just stare at it. Yeah.
And it creates a conundrum, because I mean, if you think about okay, let's just use simple numbers. I make $10,000 a month doing this, but it makes me miserable, right? And so to move on to the next level and to put somebody in the place to do that, I may only make $3,000 a month for a time period. So you have to take a financial step back, and that creates a pucker factor for a lot of business owners, because I mean, there's a lot of scarcity mindset out there and things like that. And so it's hard to grow through that. But you can successfully do that if you plan well during the periods of fruitful financial results.
And, you know, that goes back to a quote that I absolutely love. And to the point where I have it saved where I can check it at all times. And I think it was Jim Carrey. It could be wrong. Somebody can correct me. It says, if you're not willing to sacrifice your lifestyle for a year to get what you want, you don't really want that thing all that bad. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially the idea, if you're not willing to sacrifice whatever you have for a year to get to this thing that you truly want, because that's what it takes is sacrifice. You got to be willing to eat, you know, income. You got to be willing to basically live on a top ramen diet, so to speak, for a period of time while you learn this new endeavor. Then you don't really want it that bad.
Yeah. It takes consistency. I'm not a big fan of cutting back, but to your point, it's focus, and it's a period of time of focus where most people are unwilling to do that work. And I mean, I say it's 3 years to change the next 30, and most people are unwilling to put in the 3 years. And that's unfortunate, because if you follow the principles that we teach, it is cash flow forever. And like, it's unstoppable at that point. So I would rather make $10,000 a month on the first of the month, every month, with no effective hourly rate for myself than have a $10 million net worth, because the vanity number doesn't necessarily pay you every month. It's not necessarily liquidity, right? Because you could have a $10 million business that's struggling to kick off any profit, or a personal residence that you live in that's worth a fortune, stuff like that. So if you create cash flow that comes in monthly with very little oversight from you or effort from you, like, you become undeniable in what you can do, what you can choose, and then how you can operate. Because most of us innately have something that we feel called to do or help other people. Just like by nature, we're designed to serve other people. And most people can't think at that level because of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They're just trying to fucking eat and get shelter and put a roof over their head. And so it's all nice to talk about all these platitudes of like dream and do all this, but like when you're actually struggling to get by, there's no time for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, that clouded mentality, right? Like as a former drug user and all the like, you don't really think about anything other than when am I going to get high again? Whether it's weed or coke or anything else, like you just kind of want that next stimulation, right?
Sure.
And you're not really thinking about, oh, I should eat, or I should probably get a job so I can get a roof over my head, or I should probably do this or that. And I think it's with anything, right? When you're at rock bottom, like you're only focusing on the one thing that's missing, right? What's that one major need that's missing? And I think, Tanya, to your point, I want to pivot this just slightly into one of the other F's, which is fitness. I think this is probably the number one thing that, especially men, due to the guilt factor of it, probably struggle with. I know mom guilt's a real thing, but I think for fitness, men probably struggle with this more than anything, is the idea that they're going to work 12 hours a day, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, especially as a business owner where there is no confined 9 to 5. There's no barriers there. And they struggle with the idea that they have to sacrifice another 30 minutes or an hour in the gym.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When they should be spending time with their family. Their wife wants them at home. Their kids don't see them. They have no relationship. They barely do anything outside of work. And it's like this whole idea of like, but if I sacrifice that, I'm not the hard worker that I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Can you just discuss your philosophy on this? Because I know you have a pretty strong opinion.
Well, that was me. Like a striver or an achiever. Like I always thought more was better. And there's no limit to the amount of more you can achieve in any area. I mean, you talked about drugs. It goes across the board. Yeah. You could fill in anything for that. Money, women, booze, drugs. Like if that's your thing, it comes from a scarcity mentality though, and a lack of perspective, because I tried to focus on business and money and at the detriment of everything else, thinking and justifying it in my mind that everything would be fine no matter what, as long as I produced, right? Like my kids could hate me, my wife could hate me, whatever, as long as like I filled the bank accounts. And what I didn't realize was that's why I've made a huge shift to like time being the most important thing, right? And the real focus on your children being 5 years old, right? You're never going to get this Wednesday back. We'll never get this day back. So I want to be as present as I can be, instead of looking over your shoulder and looking for the next opportunity to make some money, right? And I think that for me, it really resonated a few years ago with me when I was just singularly focused on the production side of things. I wasn't a well-rounded human being. And so because I thought that I would eventually fill all these holes within me through production. And the reality is none of that's ever going to happen. And so what you're going to do is just run yourself into the ground, and then your kids are going to grow up. Life's going to pass you by. You may keep your spouse or you may not. Businesses are going to come and go, all of that stuff, right? And so for me, it was just an eye-opening experience that you really need to focus on you as the asset And also, I mean, to your point about fitness, I mean, there's nothing you can invest in that's more important than investing in yourself first. And you have to be of sound mind and sound body in order to build upon a foundation that is you, of which you can build skill set on top of, which then can produce all the other things that you want, right? So for me, like being compassionate and empathetic and a good listener are things that I'm working at as a human being for my kids. And so like my skill sets have shifted on like what my focus is, right? And I think before I was very selfishly focused with the production and scoreboard in mind and at the detriment of everything else. And so I think fitness is one I've always checked the box on, but not for the reasons that I do today, more health span and longevity than like whatever vanity and strength or whatever. But I do think that if you're not investing in yourself first, you can't serve others. And so we have an epidemic, obviously, with obesity and things in our culture. And it's pretty simply fixed with having self-control and like good habits. And I think that that's part of building yourself as a leader internally within your family anyway. Like if you don't have the self-control to turn down dessert on a daily basis, then how do you have the self-control to manage your finances well for your family? And I mean, that might rub some people the wrong way, but it is what it is. Also, your kids are watching every single decision you're making. So if you're eating dessert every single night, that's the habits that they learn as things that are okay. And so I think when it comes back to fitness, I think you have a responsibility to be a capable human being as an American, because you're seeing all the hurricanes and shit go on right now, right? Like, are you capable of filling sandbags and helping your neighbor? Like, I think we've lost a lot of that sense of personal responsibility to serve others and our community. And I feel like that's part of the erosion of our society, if you will. We could go way down the rabbit hole.
That's really fucking powerful, honestly. Like, I think that's something everybody needs to chew on, is this idea that we've lost that neighborly camaraderie. We got it after 9/11, and then, a few years later, that was gone, obviously. Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of forgets. But yeah, no, that is not something I've even really considered. Is not only are you physically capable for your family, but are you physically capable of stepping up in your community if they need you? Are you able to be a physical and mental community leader? Mm-hmm. That should matter to people.
Yeah.
I don't care how much of a hermit you are. Like, there's going to come a day where you need someone to watch your house. It's just great example. I just talked to my friend on Monday night. We went out to dinner right next to the venue where he's on tour. He lives in Florida. Mm. He has a handful of people that watch his house while he is on tour with his band 200 plus nights a year. Mm-hmm. And he said, fortunately they're on the East Coast, so they didn't get hit all that hard. They normally don't. But the fact of the matter is, he's like, I'm right on the water. He's like, it's going to take a certain amount and the water's going to go in. It's going to ruin all my shit. He's like, but I didn't have to worry because I had neighbors that were watching to make sure my dogs were safe and to make sure that, anything truly of value was going to get pulled before anything happened. Do we all have that? Better check your Rolodex real fast and think about that. Do you have those people in your life that are neighbors or friends or family that live close by that could jump in a moment's notice? If there's a fire at your house, there's kids, whatever, there's a flood, that are physically and mentally capable. And more importantly, are you capable of doing that?
Yeah.
That's powerful. And to go back to what you're saying, like, my kid watches everything I do.
Yeah.
He told me right before I left on this trip, he's like, Dad, I got a lift. She's in the shoulder press. That's his thing right now. He's got his little 5-pound kids bar and he puts some weight on it and he cleans it and he presses 5 times. He's like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, cool. That's more than I did. So, You're killing it at 6 years old. And he's like, I got to do this every morning and every night. I'm like, all right, buddy. And my wife sends me a picture. He's at his Mimi and Papa's house and he picks up the plastic basketball hoop and he doesn't think anybody's watching and he's doing his presses.
Yep.
And I'm like, but that's because he sees me doing that stuff on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And that movement is just something he's sunk into. So like, I'm not going to argue with him and tell him you should do other things. I'm like, if that's what you want to do, like that is more than 99% of 6-year-olds are doing right now. Like, just do that.
Yeah.
But on the same side, he doesn't understand pancakes can be protein pancakes or normal. So he sees me eating pancakes every morning and he loses his shit. He's like, where's the vegetables? Where's the protein? You're eating shit. Like you're eating garbage. Right? Because he's been programmed for so many years to see me eating a certain way. And now that I've added something in that I enjoy, that we both know is like pretty damn good macro wise. It's healthy. It's got everything you need. But to a 6-year-old who just sees things in black and white with food, I'm eating junk.
Yep.
And I'm going to get fat. Right?
Yep.
So, that's those stories like that. Like when people bring that up, it resonates. I look back on it and I laugh, but I also realize I probably should eat other things just for his peace of mind,
Yeah.
Because I don't want him to confuse it and think dad ate like IHOP every morning, right? And lost weight and stayed healthy. So I got to register that too. We have to register what we're doing and how it can create lasting images.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just got to stay on top of them and be like, these are Kodiak cakes.
Right. I'm making my own from scratch, right? With Greek yogurt and protein powder.
Right.
And
right.
So it's like mine are even healthier than Kodiak cakes. Like I'll put them up against anything, but he does not understand at 6 years old. All he sees is dad eating pancakes. And eventually he's going to start registering that as like, that's just normal.
Sure.
And when we look back, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
Right. My parents still think I'm weird for eating, prioritizing protein.
Yeah.
But they'll be okay with going to Kaiser and getting a 800 calorie a day diet with laboratory made protein bars and powdered drinks.
Yeah.
And all that blood testing. But that's a normal way to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I think conditioning is so goddamn important.
Yes. There's no doubt about it.
I'm gonna get off my podium now, and we're gonna get back to this. So I had to go off on that for a second because that's just a lot of like reflection. Let's talk more about the book you have coming out. I know you're excited to get that out. We've talked in depth about that process and what it means to you, and you've been through a lot in terms of your history of college football, Army, Rangers.
Yep.
And everything you've seen in your lifetime, and then finance, right? Coming out of the military and going into finance.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a massive mental shift that had to happen there.
Not really. I just compartmentalized everything. I got out of the military. I got hurt and got med boarded out of the military. And I was in special operations. They said that you could take a desk job and stay in special operations, which is like the death knell of people. Like you either get addicted to pills or you start drinking at 6 o'clock in the morning because you can't deploy and
you essentially lost all purpose.
You can't be an action guy anymore, and you have to sit there and watch it. So it's not a good environment. I didn't want that for sure. I could go to the regular Army and rehab for a year, but then I would be down the road in the regular Army because this is 2004. This is high deployment rotation, and so I said no. I'm going to go back to I'm going to get out ETS and go home because I had a job waiting for me, and so I had 6 months to report to that job, and I went back to work within 2 weeks. So I just dove right into like khakis and polos and cubicles, which I would not recommend to anybody because I didn't realize
I concur.
I didn't realize the residual, like I needed some time and some space. I should have went and sat in the woods for a while, and I didn't do any of that. And so what it did was it caused like all this other shit to just stack up, and which I unwound later, whatever. But I mean, going into financial services and working in that area served me very well. I learned a lot of lessons. I mean, I'm a big proponent when you don't know what the fuck you want to do, go to work for a big company or a small company in sales. sales opportunities are awesome, or work for a big corporation and take a lot of advantage of their continuing education, which is what I did.
So
I
my
was
dad
like,
did too.
I was like, what courses can I take? I can get all these certifications. I can do all this financial Series 6, Series 7, all this other shit. And it's paid for. And so I just went to town on that because I don't have a college degree. I don't have any of that stuff. I was never interested in it. I just wanted to pick all my own shit, which is why I don't have a college degree, because I wouldn't do like the
Yeah,
requirements or
you
whatever.
can't cherry pick
And
college,
so
unfortunately.
this made a lot more sense to me. But I spent my 20s learning some valuable lessons and getting a lot of education, practical education, and business education. And so, but to go back to the book, like what I'm doing with that is it's called Operation Wealth. It's just to build off the principles that we teach in the Tactical Empire and the 7 levels of financial freedom. The reality of why I wrote it, though, is because I want more people to understand that, like, getting out of the conventional investment trajectory with qualified programs, giving all your money to 401ks, like being a slave for 45 years is not what you have to do. And so I wrote it for my kids because I want them to have a reference, a workbook if I'm never here, or if I'm not here anymore for whatever reason. And so, like, I just really want more people having more freedom of choice. I think we've, I'm going to go back to societal soapbox again. I think we've got to the point in society where people feel like it's necessary to walk this path of college to a job to dual incomes in order to raise kids. And it, to me, like, that's just not what I wanted for our family. And I talk to people all the time that once they have kids and start raising their kids, it's not necessarily what they want anymore either, but their lifestyle creep has got to the point where, like,
It's real tough to 180 that.
people feel trapped, right? And so, like, what do you do to solve that problem? And you've seen it in action a million times, that if you put together a comprehensive plan, you can work it in just a few years, and then you can regain your control over your situation. So, like, regardless of the position you put yourself in with student loan debt, like car loans, whatever you've got, big house, like, if you and your spouse or whatever, or family decide that you want to go a different direction, it doesn't take that long to regain that power of choice. And that's what the book is all about. Like, you can step through those things and regain your ability to shift the life that you want to build for yourself. And I mean, that's what we're building within the Tactical Empire. I don't impress upon you guys like how to do shit or what you should want. It's about clarifying your vision for yourself and your family. Fuck, we got guys that live on farms and grow chickens and, like, do all kinds of random stuff in there. But other people want different things. And so it's about establishing what you want for yourself and your family, and then making it happen, and not being closed-minded to the fact that, like, this is your lot in life and this is the direction you have to go. So it's overcoming a lot of, like, money mindset issues. Almost everybody listening to this has, like, money head trash, like financial head trash that has been imparted on them by their parents, and the spending habits that we grew up with, the thoughts we had around money growing up. And so, I mean, it's about breaking free to understand that you have the freedom to do whatever you want in this life, and you can have it all right now. You don't have to wait till you're 65. Like,
That's powerful. 'Cause, yeah, I think that's something, again, we go back to the whole things that are taught, right? Through what we see, what we experience growing up. And I think, that was impressed upon me, right? Like, if you don't have good grades, you're going to be a failure. You listen to this music, you're going to be a failure. You're not going to go to college. You're going to be a failure.
yeah,
The idea of entrepreneurship was never even discussed.
yeah,
And the idea of, making your own way was never discussed. And I think it's really important for people to understand that like you said, cash flow, creating your own freedom, being able to get out of a 2-income household. Like my wife and I probably never will because both of us like working. We
Sure.
both have it, but we both all are also building things that allot us the freedom to choose what we want to do. Right.
Yeah.
So we can continue earning and continue running businesses, but with the idea that like, if I want to take the next 3 weeks off, I'm out.
Yeah.
So
That's powerful though.
Right. So I think to me, that's really important for people to understand is like, it doesn't matter if you have a W-2 job or if you have a entrepreneurial business owner mindset, or if you're a salesperson, you need to find that balance between the demands of your job and the freedom that comes from your success. Like, are you really good at it? And if you are, you need to use that to leverage some freedom with your employers if you have them.
Sure. And like, I mean, like we say, that choosing your own path is up to you. I mean, like we sold everything and we live in an RV traveling the country. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity to do this if we hadn't have set up our building blocks and foundation along the way. I mean, we use this exact program to kind of afford our family the ability to choose whatever we want to do, work from anywhere, work with who we want to work on, and work on projects like this and show up to a room in Phoenix to do a podcast with you. And so I feel incredibly fortunate. I mean, Sean, my business partner, I think you've had him on this program. He did the exact same thing. When I met him when he was 29 years old, I said, this is exactly, if you are coachable and this is what you'll do, I'll walk you through this plan. And if you do it, I said, you'll be financially free by the time you're 35 and you'll be able to do absolutely anything you want in your 40s, the whole time in your 40s. So imagine that. And like, when you think about that versus the conventional promises of invest in your 401k, wait till you're 62 and a half years old and start collecting it, and then hope for the best, it's a much better opportunity for you to really enjoy your life in your formative years while you're able to experience everything, because like tomorrow's promised to none of us. Like when you talk about my background and everything else, I mean, I just think I'm a melting pot of like real rational ideas that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, and our mortality is one of them. And the fact that we work our entire lives as slaves to the tax system with the promise that we'll get Social Security or a small amount of money later in life is just not something I've ever subscribed to. And that's the bill of goods that 95% of people accept as like their lot in life. And it's just unnecessary because you can do whatever you want. I think that getting back to the country, like we need to be raising good kids that understand that like there's different ways to do things. But you should, like for us, spending the most amount of time with our kids while they're young was the most important thing to us. And so that wasn't always my mindset. Like I said, I mean, we had 2 kids probably, maybe even 3 before I pulled my head out of my ass. And so like my oldest was probably 7, 6, 7. She's 12 now. So it's probably only been like 5 or 6 years and I don't have shit figured out. Like, let's be honest. I'm still just
you're living in a van down by the river, so I wonder about a lot of things.
Ever evolving work in progress.
Yeah.
Man, we're having a ball on the road though. We are I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I can imagine that is a clusterfuck of fun.
6 months in, and like my wife and I look at each other all the time and we're like, we have never made a better decision. And so it's really incredible. So and we're still doing stuff. We're still making moves. I'm buying stuff right now. We're rehabbing a storage facility that we own in Houston right now.
That's been fun to watch.
So yeah, I'm excited about that one because it'll be wrapped up. We'll be leasing in the next few weeks, and so that's an exciting one. I bought another rental property that we'll be closing on in the next 2 weeks as well. So part of what I'm doing is for you guys, because I'm like, I'm gonna go do this wild shit, like move into an RV with 4 kids and a dog, and I'm going to do it for a few years, and I'm going to show people that you can still grow and make a bunch of money and continue to invest while focusing on all these other things, as long as you build your foundation correctly.
Walking the walk. I like it. That makes a lot of sense. And, it's appreciated to see the blueprint of a lot of these things that you're doing, the storage units and buying the properties and things like that. I don't know if Lex will ever live in an RV, but, moving around to luxury hotels is definitely something we could look at. So,
See, your cash flow.
Yeah.
Number.
So we're looking for that idea. We're trying to cash flow up to where we can, Fairmont Hotel, 4 Seasons our way through the United States or something like that, know?
Yep.
Little Ritz-Carlton, high flyer action.
I heard there's a Biltmore here that's only like $760 a night.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's incredible. So you guys could probably rent that for $50,000 a month.
Yeah, she's gonna be pissed that we're not staying there, but that's all right. I joke. All right. I want to wrap this up because I want to respect everybody's time. I appreciate everything. I definitely think we're going to have you on for a part 2 here down the line because I think there's a lot more to uncover. You have a lot to share that I think is important. But ultimately, I just want to thank you for your time. And I want to remind everyone, everybody has a different avatar you're looking to subscribe to. So we're trying to share multiple different versions. Your goals might be completely different than Jeff's or mine. So find that person that you can sink into and emulate and really go after them. Don't worry about if Jeff is doing things that you're like, I have no interest in an RV or things like that. There's still things you can get from him and there are still lessons to be learned. So as always, keep digging in.